Today, we're unpacking a massive legal earthquake, the August 6th, 2026 New Mexico court ruling against Meta. We're going to explore the pretty wild legal theory behind this massive decision, the specific operational changes it forces the company to make, and most importantly, what it means for the future of the internet. If you want to understand how a single state's courtroom could potentially rewrite the rules for social media platforms nationwide, you are absolutely in the right place.
Let's kick things off with a number that's honestly just hard to wrap your head around. Nearly $1 billion. $942 million to be exact. This staggering figure is Meta's total financial exposure in this single youth-related lawsuit. Now, this massive number is actually a combination of two separate hits. It includes a brand new $567 million abatement fund, which the judge just ordered, stacked on top of a previous $375 million civil penalty. It is the largest financial penalty ever imposed on the company in any youth-related social media litigation to date.
Section 1. Phase 1, Unfair Practices, to Phase 2, Public Nuisance. To understand how we got to nearly $1 billion, we've got to look back to 2023, which is when New Mexico's Attorney General first filed the suit. It all unfolded in two distinct phases. First, in March 2026, a jury found that Meta committed tens of thousands of violations of New Mexico's Unfair Practices Act, essentially determining the company misled users about platform safety and ended up enabling exploitation. That gave us the first $375 million penalty. Then, Phase 2 moved to a bench trial. This means no jury. It was overseen and decided solely by Judge Brian Bidscheid in August of 2026, and that resulted in the new $567 million abatement order.
Now, this is where it gets absolutely fascinating. They didn't just argue standard consumer protection here. No, they argued that Meta's platforms constitute a public nuisance. Traditionally, this is a legal doctrine reserved for physical threats to public health. Think chemical pollution or the marketing of opioids and tobacco. New Mexico successfully argued that the harms from Meta's platforms extend way beyond individual users, imposing broad, massive societal costs on families, schools, and hospitals across the entire state.
And Judge Bidscheid actually bought into this exact framing. He famously equated Meta to a literal polluting factory. The logic goes like this. Just as a factory produces goods but pumps toxic smog into the air, Meta produces engagement-driven content, but generates harmful byproducts, like psychological harm and the exploitation of children. So under this legal theory, the company is basically on the hook for cleaning up or abating its own pollution.
Section 2. The $567 million abatement fund breakdown. So what does a $567 million cleanup fund actually look like? Well, it's incredibly unique. This isn't just a traditional fine that disappears into some state treasury vault. This money is locked into a highly specialized plan. When we look at how it's split up, the absolute bulk of it, $420 million to be exact, is strictly earmarked for the direct medical and psychological treatment of young people affected by social media-related issues. The rest trickles down into screening, awareness campaigns, referrals, and the basic administrative costs of implementing the fund itself. But, the court didn't just hand the state a blank check. To ensure compliance, Meta actually has to file written progress reports twice a year, every June 30th and December 31st. And the judge notably reeled in the state's sprawling ambitions here. He cut their massive 15-year request down to just a 5-year plan, and he explicitly shot down their request to use this money to build brand new community health centers.
Section 3. New Rules in New Mexico, Tangible Platform Changes. All right, beyond the money, this ruling forces concrete operational changes to the very design of Facebook and Instagram. But there's a massive catch. They currently only apply to users physically located inside New Mexico. And these mandates, they're striking. Meta has to enforce a strict 90-hour monthly usage limit for teens, which, let's be real, is still an incredible amount of screen time. They also have to enforce a digital curfew, completely disabling push notifications overnight and during school hours. Plus, they're required to hide the number of likes on minors' posts by default and outright ban any sexualized or romantic interactions between Meta's AI chatbots and minors.
Honestly, if you're a parent or a teen in New Mexico, your app is going to look totally different. The ruling forces teen accounts to be private by default, it mandates that default friend connections be restricted mostly to other minors, and it completely prevents teen accounts from appearing in adult search results in many cases. Now, to actually enforce all this, the judge is demanding Meta roll out much more stringent age verification processes and highly sophisticated prediction models to catch kids under 13.
But to be totally fair here and look at both sides, it's absolutely crucial to note the court's restraint. While the judge ordered curfews and usage limits, he explicitly denied the state's most aggressive demands. The state literally wanted to completely kill infinite scroll, disable autoplay video features entirely, and force core changes to Meta's recommendation algorithms. The judge said no to all of those.
And why did he say no? Well, the judge actually credited Meta's defense argument on this point. He recognized that some of those sweeping architectural modifications were, quote, technologically infeasible. Meta successfully argued that forcing fundamental changes to their core algorithms at a state-by-state level could effectively force the company to just pull out and stop offering its services in New Mexico entirely. And that was a bridge the court was simply unwilling to cross.
Section 4. Meta's Defense and Appeal.
As you might expect, Meta is fighting this tooth and nail. They are fiercely contesting the ruling, the penalties, and the entire public nuisance theory itself. A spokesperson made their stance incredibly clear, stating they fundamentally disagree with the decision and arguing that the state's claims completely misrepresent the facts. The company points directly to their long-standing, transparent efforts to handle harmful content, expressing total confidence in their record of protecting teens online.
There was also a really pivotal moment during the trial when Meta deployed the tech industry's ultimate legal shield, Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Normally, this federal law totally protects platforms from liability related to things their users post. But in a major legal shift, Judge Beedscheid explicitly rejected that defense here. The court basically signaled a growing judicial willingness to hold platforms accountable when they are accused of product design defects, rather than just pointing fingers at the content itself.
So what happens now? The appeals process could drag on for months or literally years. In the meantime, Meta has an immediate multi-step strategy. First, file the formal appeal. Second, aggressively seek legal stays on the provisions that require those massive engineering changes, so they can delay implementing them. But third, and this is key, they still have to begrudgingly prepare their compliance systems for New Mexico, just in case those legal stays are denied.
Section 5. The nationwide ripple effect.
So, why does a ruling in New Mexico matter to a user sitting in New York or California? Let's put that money into perspective. While a nearly $1 billion hit is massive, it is totally manageable for a company of Meta's incredible scale. I mean, they generate tens of billions in annual revenue. The real threat to their bottom line isn't this one single check. It's the extremely dangerous precedent this ruling sets for future litigation across the country. New Mexico's Attorney General is openly parading this as a blueprint for other governments. And believe me, the audience is listening. This success strongly emboldens a massive, pending multi-state federal trial involving California, Colorado, Kentucky, and New Jersey. Not to mention the dozens of other state lawsuits and over 1,000 individual school district lawsuits that are currently pending. They all now have a proven, winning legal template to follow.
Which leads to a massive, multi-million-dollar operational headache for Meta. Building fragmented, state-by-state variations of Instagram and Facebook is an absolute engineering nightmare. So the big question on everyone's mind is, will Meta eventually just bite the bullet and roll out these New Mexico safeguards like the private by default settings and hidden likes nationwide? They might literally have to, just for cost efficiency and to proactively head off all those other lawsuits.
And hey, it's not just Meta sweating right now. Every single competitor, TikTok, Snap, YouTube, they are all facing parallel scrutiny. This successful deployment of the public nuisance strategy massively increases the likelihood that regulators and plaintiffs will test the exact same legal theories against every other major platform on the market. The floodgates are officially open.
Yet, despite all of this, massive open questions remain regarding some very well-documented technical challenges. For instance, how do you practically enforce a 90-hour limit across multiple devices in a single house? How do you accurately estimate age without hoovering up even more creepy privacy-invading data from legitimate adult users? And perhaps most importantly, will these forced engineering changes actually reduce the psychological harm they're intended to fix? As appeals mount and federal policymakers study this new blueprint, we've got to wonder, is this New Mexico ruling the tipping point that will ultimately reshape the very design of the internet across the United States? Or will Meta's appeal succeed, rendering this just an isolated, overturned victory? The entire tech world is holding its breath, and what happens next will impact how every single one of us interacts online. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.